marching band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
It's Sunday evening once again, and that means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 163, heading your way. Of course, we'll catch you up in the latest Auburn news and the Auburn potpourri segment and 2 main topics in the baseball, softball realm and a big basketball week. Let's get into all those different things right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and yes, the Auburn family. The easier way to say it, though, is it's orange and blue. It's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing this evening during another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 163. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis, and back with me with a much more pleasant week of Auburn results to talk about, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, much more excited. Looking forward to breaking it all down with you this week than I was last week. And I hope everybody else has had a great week. How could you not with following some Auburn sports this week? But we'll get into all of it. But War Eagle to you, sir.
War Eagle to you as well. And let me just say this for a second here. I don't know if it was everybody on my end or whatever, but you froze for half a second in the biggest scowl after I said we had a great week. And I was like, what did I miss? It was hilarious. I looked down at my screen and Austin is just giving the most disgusted look ever. And I'm like, what did I say?
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I know you had some internet issues on your latest stream.
Yeah,
but there's no telling. There's always no telling what happens at this house.
That wasn't the mobile broadcast studio. That was at a location I very rarely have to go from, and I had forgotten that it's questionable whether or not we made it through the majority of the stream, and then all of a sudden it was just like, I can't do it anymore. We can't handle it. This is too good of a win for Auburn to have like a full stream. Like things are just finally going their way. We can't have that any other way. But obviously we'll get there. Very big week for Auburn basketball. Big week for Auburn baseball and softball. We're going to be talking about a lot of that there. And then, of course, we're going to catch you up on Auburn potpourri things. I want to start us off with some just happy countdown situated stuff, Austin, for the week. It is under 200 days to Auburn football. And I know we are focused on everything else right now, and we should be. But look, it's a new era for Auburn football. Countdowns feel a little bit more, fresh and fun when there is a new something to look forward to in the air. So 200 or minus 200 days. It was like on Tuesday, I think is what it was, or something like that. So it'll be here before you know it, Austin. We say it a lot, but it's true.
It will. It's true. It'll be here before you know it. And I guess that 100-day mark will come right around the time of athletic seasons. Most of the athletic season's kind of wrapping up. So that tells you just how close we are to the end of the athletic season this year too. So
it's crazy.
It always goes by fast. And but 200 days until we're back in 200 days until it's Auburn football again.
That's used to you almost.
207-ish until we're in Jordan-Hare. But it's exciting. And you mentioned how close we cover everything else, and we do. But the athletic season comes and goes, and everybody still has a thought about football every now and then. So it'll be here before we know it, but we got plenty to talk about till then.
Oh, absolutely do. And can we, again, I think we've mentioned a couple of episodes now, but can we all just say a quick prayer for the SIDs out there right now that are trying to manage everything that is going on between the not even conclusion of the winter sports right now. Like
Yeah.
they're still in the heart of everything. And then all the spring stuff is in full swing. This isn't even just like opening weekend things. And you've got, easier opponents like Youngstown State for baseball and things like that. We're in like major tournaments, showcases, whatever you have for spring sports. I mean, and then you got women's tennis who's doing amazing. Both golf teams are doing really well. It's not like there's nothing to talk about in the Auburn athletic space. And I know that's a shocking thing for some of you guys right now, but like there is a lot of good things happening and a lot to talk about in the Auburn space. So if you know where to look,
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. This week I had a work event where one of Auburn's SIDs was attending, and they were kind of sharing about their role. And I just got to overhear her talking about how much she has to do right now and how much kind of behind the scenes you might not know she's doing with her respective sports. And it was just bonkers to hear, especially in, mid-February, how busy they can be. And so I know it's always appreciated the work they put in, and even though it may be grunt work and not always praised that often, we certainly appreciate it, and it makes the Auburn viewing experience that much smoother.
Absolutely it does. And I always forget that you do need to go check out some of these articles that they're putting out as well, because there's some good little tidbits of information, because I wasn't aware, and what you would have found out in the middle of the basketball game, we'll talk about it then, but 1,000 career points for Kevin Overton was coming up. So I was sitting on pins and needles waiting. So always check that stuff out. Appreciate your SID, because they are the gatekeepers in the sense to the information, but like they got a long road ahead of them, especially those that overlap with some of their responsibilities and things like that. But it's a busy season for content creators as well, trying to keep up with all this kind of stuff, but it'll be over before you know it. Anything else happened this week for you, my man? Or has it been,
well, the Olympics is officially over now. The Winter Olympics is officially over. I personally had a blast watching it this year. Yeah. I felt like I got into it a whole lot more than I normally do, especially the winter version. I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago. But did you see our International Olympic Committee president, Miss Kirsty Coventry? Did you see her closing interview with Mike Tirico today?
I did not watch it yet, but I've seen the clip of it, and in general, I have not watched the fullness. Would you like to fill everybody?
I mean, you find a way. Auburn's going to find a way to make themselves on the national or international stage. She just brought up how excited she is that the next Olympics, the Summer Olympics of 2028, will be in the United States, and how exciting she is to see the world see what sports means to America. And she has seen that firsthand. And she mentioned as earning a scholarship and going to Auburn. And so that was very exciting to hear her talk about. And I think it'll be very fun to get to have that as another talking point when she hosts the Summer Olympics, her Olympics that she's used to in 2028. But as Mike Tirico said, is it bigger than the Iron Bowl? And there's some debate out there whether or not I think you could make that case. No, but very cool to see, and very nice little surprise tidbit to hear.
Now, we could make a case, because look, the Iron Bowl is the end-all, be-all of rivalries, in my opinion. Sorry, Michigan, Ohio State fans. Sorry, Yankees and Red Sox fans. You're just wrong. But we might be able to make a case, especially back in the 80s, that the Russians and in America were pretty up there in terms of rivalries, and obviously some correlation with them and all that today winning and all that kind of stuff.
Well, they've both seen a couple miracles or two.
Yes, they certainly have. One was probably 109 yards is a little bit more unheard of than another one. Now, you did end like a humongous drought and the political climate of the time, all that. There wasn't much politics going on a football field. At least there shouldn't be.
Well, not yet anymore, at least.
Right.
Still, and this is not the Olympic Experience show, but just one of the best upsets in all of sports history, if not the best. And it was so cool today to get to kind of reminisce on that for the U.S. winning gold again. And man, so cool. One day there's going to be an Auburn Hockey Club member on the Olympic national team. And that'll be fun to see. And they'll all train at the AMC Theater here.
Okay. So here we go. We're going to go over on this segment, but I'm going to do it because you've teed me up for it now.
This is what a light potpourri week happens as we do this.
No, but this is important because I'm not going to say I'm the only one that came up with this.
I just placed the T right there.
You did. No, you placed the puck right there. And boom, right there. Is that how you do it?
Sure. Sure.
What a show. the AMC in Auburn proper, well, technically, is it?
It's Auburn. Yeah,
Auburn
it's Auburn
proper has
proper,
closed
yeah.
right across from the mall. It's been there for ages. I went there. I saw Iron Man, the very first movie of the MCU, in there. I still remember that to this day.
I was very scared for my life there one time. That's another story for another time. Definitely
Yeah,
thought I was going to be a news headline, but I also have memories there. Yes.
Let's put a puck in that, not a pin in that, and just, move that off to the side for a second there. So with this segue of Olympics talk and hockey and club teams and this news, can we just all agree that the correct decision for what happens with that movie theater, because it's a large facility, is that the Auburn community is given its first ice rink or rinks situation, and maybe even other stuff to go with it. And not only is it a great service to the community, but it would finally give the Auburn University club team a home place with a ton of parking in a major thoroughfare through Auburn proper. And finally, we not have to travel to Columbus and check on social media to see how they're doing. Can we just all agree that's what needs to happen?
It's a great point. And as a resident from the local Facebook pages and things that where people talk about their happenings and what they want to see, you are not alone in this. It is very popular opinion that ice skating rinks need to be, or some ice skating convention center type thing needs to be the next AMC theater or the next home of the AMC theater. There is no point at all whatsoever that is a confirmed thing. No one has.
It's speculation.
It is pure speculation. Now you could argue when there's smoke, there's fire, and so we'll see what happens. But at first when I heard it, I thought, oh, what, an ice skating rink? And I think there'd be a lot of benefits to it. It'd certainly get a lot of public traction, and you can do a lot of other things. The one that was closer to where I'm from, back home, certainly hosts a lot of venues and things like that. So it'd be interesting. It'd certainly be interesting. I think it'd help Auburn Hockey Club a lot more. But it'd be interesting to see what would come of that. But I don't hate it.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's a women's ice hockey club as well.
I could be wrong. Sure there are. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
So same thing here. A home for that. A great thing for the community. That's a big facility. You might even be able to work some other wintry things in there as well. Have you ever heard of like these places that have giant ski hills that you can go rent? Not rent, but you can't rent.
That seems a bit of a stretch. But...
Hey, listen. Somebody once said, if you can dream it, you can do it. I'm just going to throw that out there tonight. Tie everything.
Did you ever at a church lock-in go play broom ball?
No, because I was cool. We played other things, but go ahead.
No, when I tell you what broom ball is,
I know what it is.
With your tennis shoes and I mean, it's the closest thing you can get to the U.S. gold game as a high schooler. And I would just think like the parties and the things you can rent out are just endless at an ice skating rink. And like you said, it's a massive place. I don't know what you could maybe halvesy it with. Like maybe you got an ice skating, or maybe you got one of those. Like where I grew up, there was a big like indoor soccer thing, and it was like turf, and it was
sure,
same type idea. But I don't know, man. I think you're right. I just don't know. I feel doubtful it'll happen, but we'll see.
Or this could be the push that everybody needs right here. We're talking about it on this show. Everybody else start talking about it, and you never know. Look, I'm not even a resident there. I'm advocating for this. I'd love to see it. So just putting it out into the world.
You never know.
You do what you want with it, Auburn residents. But what I heard here tonight is Austin Scott is leading the charge on this and is going to be petitioning City Hall for that. So
that's right. And Kyle will fund it. That's right.
Still trying to fund that whole trip to Maui. But I don't know if that's happening anytime soon. All right. Auburn potpourri time before we give ourselves things that we don't need to get involved in. The rest of the stuff for the week. I know. Football stuff. Coach Galesh is certainly making some appearances on certain podcasts and media groups and stuff like that, interviews, things like that. So this past week, there were some comments from him in reference to the bad wolf. No, the boosters, the powers that be, the boogeyman that everyone believes is actually behind the scenes pulling the strings, but has yet to give me an ounce of proof, physical proof that it actually happened. Sorry, I digress. you know where I stand on this thing. But I love that this is getting addressed. And let me see if I can pull the article up and give you the actual, well, it won't pull up now because for some reason the link's not working. But some people shared it out there. But basically, Coach Gillespie acknowledged that there are people that obviously are funding Auburn now that you can in NIL very significantly. And when you give over that amount of money, you want to know what you're spending your money on and why is it working? Was it not working? But he acknowledged, as I read it, and as I think I even heard the clip, that doesn't mean that they get to pull the strings or in any way. And in fact, you set parameters up where that's not how this is going to work. So can we, I'd want this narrative out there to just start to die, because it's one of the most, I should say, least intellectually based narratives that I've heard out there. I am not denying anyway that when there's money, there's people that want influence, but I'm also saying I need proof that the big bad boosters are a problem. What is your take on the comments or that situation, anything like that?
Well, and you and I have discussed this before on the show. It's been a notion that I'm certainly sure was put out there by those who don't have Auburn's best interest in mind multiple times, that Auburn has this booster problem. It's resonated for decades, and I think at a point there were certainly times where more affluent boosters had more influence or activity or presence in the program than others. I think that's certainly evident. You can see based on whose names are on a lot of buildings around town that who those are. I also think that it's a far stretch to say that those people are the ones that hire and fire. Those people are the ones that run the program, and that's where we've landed after all these years. Is what's happening. It's all Yellowwood money. It's all louder money or whatnot. And I just don't think that's the case. I never have. I thought that sounds way too fairy tale land to be true anyway. And I think, as you've heard, especially given the last few years, because I think there is a point to where you can say alignment has never been Auburn's strongest suit over the last half decade. Didn't have to. But I think that now, as you've gotten further away from that, you've heard it be very point blank obvious, asked of coaches on, hey, what's the Auburn situation like? Hey, or what do you see? We've heard this. What do you think? And you continue to hear, whether it be from Coach Freeze or Coach Golish, there's nothing that they've seen as the head football coaches at Auburn that point to that. And sure, they're making that public. Sure, they're out there. What do you expect them to say? I expect them to either dance around it or be straight up honest. And I think this is another evident part that you've seen Coach Alex Golish say, I've heard all that. He admitted, I have heard all that. I have heard about that from Auburn, and I do not see that being here. It's furthest thing from the truth. I asked about it, and I don't see it here. And so, of course, you've got the headlines out there that just cherry picked this quote to death. Yellowhammer News did a great job of just making sure
well, we're just calling it out there, aren't we?
They only wanted what they wanted out there. But him saying we don't need your money is to those boosters who and I want to say this too. I'm sure there are people out there who say, hey, I'll give you this money, but I want to pick the quarterback. I'm sure that is the case at Auburn and multiple places around the country. And I'm sure there are multiple places that say, no, we're not going to do that, or we appreciate that, but that's not how this is going to work here. And I'm sure there are multiple places that say, sure, $5 million, you can pick whoever you want. You can pick the underwear I wear on game days. But the thing is I'm just shocked at the amount of people who are just begging for any kind of tidbit or headline that they want to take and run with it. And I shouldn't be at this point, Kyle. I know that. But the booster situation at Auburn continues to be overblown, and this week with a whole article about it just enhances that opinion for me.
I would agree on that. It's nice to have the actual figurehead of the football program come out and talk about it and address this and acknowledge the realities of it and what is the reality and what is the fiction. And so that's my biggest challenge to Auburn fans is I want us to represent ourselves well. Let's not be like typical fan bases where we perpetuate these narratives out there that, Java or whatever, what have you, the powers that be narratives without actual facts. It just makes us sound ignorant. And that's not what we're about here. And
it's lazy. It's lazy.
It's low energy to use that phrase. Like it's the least amount of energy that you can put forth into a narrative to buy into, and not actually. Every time someone has brought that up, like on a stream that I've done at different places, I've asked them, "Hey, I'm open to it if you will present me with some facts." And no one is yet. You know what it always is? Is like, well, I heard or they said, and I'm like, of course they say. But anyway, the point is this: it's been addressed by the head coach. You believe what you want. I'm going to believe the guy that's like right here, fresh in this thing. He's got nothing to lose because he's got a bare bones program that he's restarting with. Again, you almost got me started earlier with a certain phrase, but there it is. You know, boosters have been addressed. I don't think it's as big of an issue as people want to believe it is, because I think it just sounds like something that sounds sexier than it actually is out there, if you want to think about it that way.
The only thing I know for sure about this is every time it comes up, Tuscaloosa and Athens just have a field day, and I'm tired of throwing gas on the fire.
Well, I think a certain Athens needs to stop using gas in certain situations before they start, working on somebody else's issues. So,
well, yeah, I'm gonna stop. Yes,
there you go.
Agreed.
Sorry, we did really well. We both tried to tee each other up there, and
I said underwear, but that's it.
I did not take the bait, and you did not take the bait. That's a good way. So don't take the bait, Auburn fans. Don't be part of that crowd that buys into the boogeyman of the boosters. All right, moving on. Let's talk about gymnastics. Now, I understand nobody likes to talk about a loss and nobody wants moral victories here, but I think it's always important to talk about things in context. Auburn Gymnastics, if you're not aware, is going through it right now a little bit with some injuries. They just got people back, and now they've lost some people with Sophia Bell, who was the anchor of their floor routine. Why does it feel every single year that there is a major injury, like on I can't even remember her name, but I remember having it described to me like several seasons ago about somebody who just anyway, I gotta move on. But
it's always like something that makes your stomach turn.
It does.
Like last year or 2 years ago, I think it was Olivia Hollingsworth.
Yep.
Last year it was Kiko Zhang, and this year Sophia Bell. Obviously Suni's tenure here a few years ago ended with a very strange circumstance,
right?
Medically. It does. It feels like they get snake bit almost every year by some big injury.
It does. But despite all that and some up and downness, because they had a really hot start and then they've just gone through the gauntlet as it is of the SEC and everything else. They had Alabama come home. And if you're not aware, they've actually had some pretty good success against Alabama in Neville Arena. They did lose, but they posted the season high score at home without some of their best players, such as Sophia Bell, and having to switch the rotation around. And Coach Gribba even talked about that this week in his press conference. Like, we got to switch some things up. Well, it worked, because not only did they come close enough to a very strong Alabama team, but they got their highest score of the year and things like that. So I just want to give some props to them. You want to talk about a team that's going through it right now, and they have every reason to get flustered, quit, panic.
Yeah.
And strong work by them.
Well, and without Sophia Bell, of course, that roster flips on its head, and you're trying to figure out what it works. And like you said at the beginning, no moral victories, but they did get their highest score of the year, and that does matter.
It does, actually.
That losses really don't matter. Like, if we're being completely honest, like, it's a 1-versus-1 team, and yes, for those of you not aware, Auburn has not quote unquote won a gymnastics meet. They've won one, I think, all year.
Yes,
maybe they haven't won any. I don't know.
It's the first one they won, and the first one.
But the average of your score and your best away score and all these different metrics are what goes into if you move on in the postseason, or where you're seated and all those things. So the highest score of the year at home against Alabama is a loss, but it very much hopes and for where they're seated down the line. So a really great week all in all, and there were tons of points still left on. It was not the best I've seen Auburn do this year, but it was not the best I've seen all their events be. And so there's certainly still room for improvement now that they maybe tinkered with that roster and rotation a little bit.
Absolutely. So real proud of what they've been doing there, because listen, they have every excuse to lay down, but they did not. And putting up a big score like that is certainly going to help them when we get to the postseason, or when discussions about that are starting to be happening. A little bit of outside of the success of golf news this week, we've got a very special thing that happened. If you know history of Auburn women's golf specifically, you'll know the name Kim Evans, famous coach for Auburn, She battled cancer. I believe I've got that correct, right? I think overcame that. She not only has a great history with Auburn women's golf, but she is being honored with the naming of the Players Lounge that was announced this week, and they put out a video with AD Cohen over there, and I love how he just nonchalantly walks. It was very similar when they announced it, like with who was it, Cam or somebody, that they just kind of like walked in and said, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're naming this after you, we're retiring your number," things like that. So Kim Evans, the Players Lounge, if you know their facility that they have, she's having that named after. So great honor and very much deserved.
Yeah, very cool, and very cool video to see her. Looked in very good health and all things, and you could tell that she was very honored by it being a place where student athletes are, and that it would enhance their experience. It was not, she had not taken it as a place where they can, certainly they will develop as golfers, but she was like, I love that this is a place our student athletes will enjoy, and that speaks very much to how she is and who she is. So very cool to see, and very glad her name will be there for years to come.
Very much deserved, very proud person in Auburn's history, and you should know about Coach Kim Evans. Final piece in our Auburn potpourri segment, we like to throw a little non-sports stuff, maybe some university news. And hey, listen, some of our listeners love to give us crap about this. We love a good construction update, and we've slacked off those for a little bit for y'all.
I wish we had a little bed music every time we do a construction update, like Bob the Builder's theme song, so just so everybody could hear it coming and like shiver.
You are more than welcome to go on AI and put that together for us, and I will use it every single time. Trust me. I would love it, actually, because I do love watching Auburn grow, like the university, the town. And as much as I'm a nostalgia person and change sometimes is hard, you got to love it. But let's be honest. If there's one place that has just like not shied away from growth and change, it's the Auburn engineering space. I mean, of course, right? It's no shade thrown. Listen, when people ask, what is Auburn known for outside of the sports? My first go-to is engineering. Obviously, veterinary is probably your second thing, but really it's all sciences. And I would say their business school is getting, more and more well-known than it already is. And even beyond that, the nursing program is outstanding. I could go on and on. Obviously, I'm a little biased.
The College of Education is very good, Kyle.
I was about to get there, but I hope you would kind of.
The College of Education is also excellent.
Absolutely outstanding. My mother is a graduate of that College of Education. So I'm just saying, I'm obviously fond of that. Now, she was a Bama fan.
We're going to skip over that. But
so the news, let's get to the news here. The engineering department is going to be expanding a little bit. Oh no, I thought I got off the screen there for a little bit. It freaked me out. All right. The engineering department, I know it popped over here and I was worried about it. The engineering department announced that they're going to be building a state-of-the-art manufacturing lab that will expand the nation's largest student-run makerspace. I've never heard that word before. And give students hands-on access to industry-level tools. Now, if you go look at the concept art, I first looked at it and was like, are they building this underground?
I know.
They are. Like that's such an Auburn engineering thing to do.
It is. I have a little, because I've asked a friend of mine I work with who is very in tune with all the facility changes and things like this. First thing you said, the makerspace, because I'd never heard that word actually, but there is actually one about 50 feet from my office in the College of Education. A makerspace, think of it as like a teacher workroom.
Oh,
like it is an area for students to use tools that they will be using in their industry eventually, but they have that access to it to go ahead and get the familiarity with it and things like that. Sure. Ours is a maker space, and it looks exactly like a teacher workroom you would expect to see in a high school, just much bigger. So when I saw that word for engineering, and if you are not able, and maybe this clip will go out and we'll put the picture with it, but as I give Kyle work to do, that if you have not looked at the renderings of this lab, go to Auburn Engineering or Auburn Facilities, whoever put it out, and check it out. Because if you're following me, if you're walking from the Chick-fil-A under 191 College, a walk we've done many times, Kyle, that you are walking through Engineering Central, and up on your left, you will see a pergola of such up on the, you like that? Up on the green space. But that green space right there is actually hollow underneath already.
So they planned this the whole time, didn't they?
There are tunnels that go from engineering around serious business.
I know.
And there's storage down there. But right now, that where that green space is with the pergola, has area underneath and will be dug out to kind of be more level with the sidewalk. And so then that storage area will become this laboratory.
Yeah.
And there'll be a nice little terrace out front and things like that. So like you said, very engineering minded and very cool to use the space they already have. But will be certainly a benefit for Auburn engineering students now and in the future. And another little neat place for Auburn to check out.
Yeah. Listen, if there's a place that continues to have the reinvestment in facilities, it's definitely engineering. It's definitely paid its way in making a name for Auburn and built some of the greatest out here. What's funny to me is like I live not far from Atlanta, and I meet more Auburn engineers around a lot of these facilities than I do Georgia Tech. And that's not a shot to say Georgia Tech's, obviously Georgia Tech's an amazing engineering school, and they'll be higher up in the rankings. But I'm always like, yeah, that there's rankings and there's practicality. I meet more Auburn people hired at these big places as opposed to Georgia Tech people. But I understand.
Well, certainly different specialties and things like that. And,
sure.
But yeah, I think you find that Auburn Engineering's alumni base, which obviously does quite well and can fund new special maker spaces, is vast and is definitely well known.
Maybe there's a maker space out there for the Auburn Experience podcast to have that the engineering.
Come on
now. Let's work together. Let's get creative, and maybe we could have maybe there's one more tunnel left, but we can do down there. But that'll be maybe I don't know how much we'll get to see construction wise since it's underground, but
true.
There you go. A brand new addition coming to Auburn University and the engineering department. That brings us to our first major topic this evening. It's time for let's do basketball first. Basketball week update. What are we doing? What is it out of order?
It's out of order.
Okay,
You're throwing me off.
We could do baseball first. Let's do baseball first since I put it on there. That's on me. That's on me. We will do the Diamond Sports update first. I was just excited, obviously, after last night. You got to give me
Sure enough.
All right. Seriously though, really fun. Big week for both baseball and softball. I'm going to pitch it to you.
Oh boy.
Which one are we doing first?
I think we talk about the ladies. They traveled the furthest. We might as well order them. Oh goodness. We might as well reward them for going all the way out west and having quite the roller coaster of a time out there.
Can I also ask that we shorten the names of all these classics, because the baseball one's worse, but the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic is just a mouthful. Can we just
Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic?
Like that one's not a bunch of. There's 2 C's at the end, but like there's just some I've seen out there. Like let's shorten these things down just a little bit. More. An acronym is good. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about how the softball team did. Very successful road trip. Now there's going to be one blemish there that you're really going to want to look past. We won't, because we're going to be a thorough podcast here, not shy away from
That's right.
But Auburn, very successful. They go They go 4-2 on the week playing team. They beat Oregon. They lose to UCLA. They beat BYU. They lose to Washington, but they beat Cal Fullerton and California. 3 run rules again in this one. We got run ruled. We run ruled BYU.
Like
run
twice.
ruled Cal. Yeah. Well, okay. All right. Let's just talk about. Let's get it out of the way. Okay. The rest of it's mostly good. If you go look at Auburn versus UCLA, the very first or the second game of this classic for Auburn softball, you're going to be shocked at what you see. And it was going to be 0-23. They were run ruled in 5 innings, 1-23. That's I think it was an 18-run 4th inning or something like that. I mean,
yeah.
What do you do if you're a coach at that point? Like, I mean, certainly you don't just quit, but until the run rule quits you. But
well, I mean, without looking into the box score, I think you start getting some other people some opportunities. See how things are down on maybe the end of the bench, and see what it looks like down there. But at the same time, after this UCLA game, you've got 4 more games. So, at some point you got to save some space, save some bats, and look forward to the next one, because you ran into an absolute buzzsaw in the Bruins from UCLA.
Yes.
I think you and I both looked at the number 1 team in the country. Obviously, a very storied program. They're not number 1. That was Tennessee. I don't remember where they ranked.
They're ranked highly, and they're highly
very high, obviously. So after beating you by 22, and that's in softball, folks. If you somehow you zoned out and just came back, that's in softball. So it's not great, especially after you feel like you had the momentum of Auburn, Florida, or excuse me, Auburn, Oregon.
Yeah.
Not even close. Literally the opposite
I was
side
like,
of the country. Auburn, Oregon, where Auburn gets a top 10 ranked upset win to start their time out there, and you think, look at this team, this might be on to something good, and it was. It just you had to follow it up against a very, very talented team in UCLA. But truthfully, Kyle, I think after that, you look at they do bounce back in a run rule victory of their own against BYU, and the weekend continued just well.
Yeah, it did. And certainly you take a loss to Washington there, but you're playing much better talent than you did last week in the home tournament that you had. So you're going to have a few of those. I want to park back on that Oregon win to start off with, because it is a ranked win. And you and I asked this a lot, like year 2 Malveaux era, what are we looking for? We're looking for those next steps of things. And certainly they had a strong non-conference year last year, but you want to start making these more frequent, taking out upset wins. Then they become less bigger up. What's the word I'm looking for? The phrase, talk, Kyle. Not as shocking upsets.
Correct.
Like an upset's an upset. Like if you're ranked lower than right, but like there's, Auburn, who's doing really well, just not ranked highly right now, upset them. But there's a team that's in its second year of the head coaches. So this is a big way to start off. Had every reason to just kind of get into a bad situation there and then roll into what was going to happen in UCLA, and they didn't. So I was very excited with how they started that tournament with the Oregon win. And certainly, look, I mean, the Ducks just can't get a win versus the Tigers in sports. It's just like, they've got something like, I don't know, we got like a voodoo on them or something, if you believe in such things.
Well, we came and joined their apparel team.
That's fair.
And they thought that by bringing us in that they might we might take it easy on them, and apparently not. Apparently we just keep doing it.
We just keep doing it. So look, obviously we don't have every single detail from every game here in the softball thing, but as we talked about, 4 wins, 2 losses. One of them is very embarrassing. We already talked about it. But you've got to walk away feeling pretty good. You dominated or at least beat all of the Cal teams. I found it very interesting that we run ruled Cal 19-5, but Cal Fullerton, and look, Cal Fullerton in baseball is one thing. I'm not sure what they are in softball. 2-1. That's a little bit of a nail biter there. So if you look the way the kind of the games were spaced out there, you had like a big high, low, big high, or all the different things spaced out here. But very successful weekend. I mean, do you think this is about what you thought they were going to do in this tournament, or a little bit overachieving, underachieving?
I would say it has to be a little bit of overachieving. Just when you look at it on paper and where some of these programs are and where Auburn is, that I think that Oregon win plays a big role in that you went out there and you took care of some business that certainly most people didn't expect you to do. And you got to feel good coming back and trying to build on that. Certainly there's lots more home games here to play. But Auburn and at the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic does just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really exciting to see what they're doing early in non-conference play. And it should make you feel excited for what's potentially coming. Potentially with SEC. It's a different beast, but this, once again, they're doing well in their non-conference competition, already getting some upsets. Let's talk about baseball. Also out west, not as far west, but they're in the Arlington area for something that we have become very accustomed with over the last several years with Auburn baseball, going to the Amagi Bank College Baseball Series. And not only has Auburn done well there, but it seems like as Auburn does well, that thing grows into multiple weekends. It's not just this one, but this is the weekend that Auburn was slated for, with 3 other teams for a 4-game series, and you play round robin essentially. Kansas State, Florida State, big one there, especially in baseball, but Auburn and Florida State obviously have a lot of connective tissue across sports. And then you also have Louisville, who is very good in baseball as well, at least thought of what this year as well. Just in summary for the weekend, got a win versus Kansas State. Start off 5-1, 6-1. Is that a 6 or a 1? That's a 5. It was 6-1. Sorry, my thing over here is on 6.
That's 5. You're right.
What the heck? What's going on my screen?
I don't know. I'm a little worried. That's 5-1 though.
I am very tired, and you know why. 5-1, FSU. 8-5. That's a huge win for Auburn. None of these are upsets, by the way, by the ranking that Auburn chooses to put out there at number 5, because there's like 5,000 rankings, and obviously that it was the right ranking to choose. But still a big win. Also another ranked win over Louisville to round out the day, or round out the weekend, 10-6. So that is big enough in and of itself. Is undefeated. You win this weekend series, the championship effectively of it. But not only that, Austin, take it a step further outside of the individual games and performances. This is 8 wins in a row at this classic, meaning undefeated this year, I believe undefeated last year, and then the two of the 3, the last 2. So 8 in a row. Can we keep going back to Arlington? Like, let's just keep doing it.
We'll see if they keep letting us. There might not be a lot of teams they can find to play if Auburn keeps coming back to Globe Life Field. But I want to even go back a little bit more, because there was a bad loss at home against Cincinnati.
You had to bring it up.
Well, because it's important to note with context that Auburn gets shut out after kind of a lackluster but good start to the year against a Youngstown State series, where pitching did really well, set records. And then Auburn drops a midweek dud to Cincinnati, and I see a lot of people just decide to go ahead and start piling on. Well, there was a fluke. Look, Auburn struggled with Youngstown. Here they go playing a real team. And
catastrophizing galore.
Midweek games, and especially this early in college baseball, are just not upsets in the true sense. We all love to look at the numbers by the names. But this is a long team or a long season where nobody goes undefeated, and anybody can get you if you've got a bad night and they're having a great night. And that's what happened on Tuesday night with Cincinnati. It stinks, and that's not a good one Auburn should have dropped, but they did. But when you look at the response and going out to Arlington to play 3 big-time teams and two that are certainly big-time college baseball names, and will be trying to get to Omaha come in this June, and then you take care of business the way they did offensively with pitching, that speaks volumes. And this team is exactly where they're supposed to be, and is portrayed exactly as who they are. Butch Thompson is one of the greatest Auburn coaches we have had, and he will continue to put an incredible product on the field. Some of you still are hanging on to that 1 year. Some of you still love to see it. And when a game like Cincinnati comes around, we hear from you again. And thankfully, after a week in Arlington, you all went back to your hole, because Auburn did a fantastic job this weekend, and they did what we are accustomed to Butch Thompson teams doing, and went out there and handled business. And I thought it could not have been a better weekend for Auburn baseball.
I know what triggers you these days is any disrespect towards Butch Thompson.
I will not have it.
I will not allow it, such thing. And listen, I think if you're looking at the full story of Butch Thompson here, you'd be just stupid to say that he's not the right man at the right time for this job.
You'd be just stupid. That is a very eloquent way to put it.
Or direct way. Listen, you can gush about this all this once, but just a little bit of information here. Starting pitchers were the exact same. Marciano did great. Now, as you pointed out pre-show, it's probably the lesser of the opponents in Kansas State.
Certainly.
But listen, handling business as your lead off, a weekend leading off guy.
Yeah, you're right.
So you want to see that out of that person. And, there's a lot of speculation who is going to be the starters, but so far everybody's looked pretty okay. Now, you got in a little bit of trouble, down 4-0 versus Florida State. But add that context in there that the bats have struggled, that people are a little worried about that. You're down 4-0 early. Can they overcome it? Not only do they do it without their best player, Chris Rembert, who's still out on injury, and I wasn't expected to be here. So add all the context in there with the emotions of beating Florida State and all the connective tissue between Auburn and Florida State. That was a huge day. So much excitement about that. I was watching the YouTube broadcast with Brad Law, and you could just tell he was excited about that as well. It's always fun to beat Florida State in sports. Maybe it helps deal with a certain 2013 incident a little bit, even though they're not related. But that's a big win there. And I got to say, Austin, I feel like we talk about resumes, right? We hear a lot in basketball, but certainly this helps with the selection committee for baseball tournament as well. two very good looks right there versus Florida State and Louisville, especially with the context, as we talked about, coming back in one of them and without your best player. Because that's what, to me, tells me what your team is made of, what you do without your best player. And they are getting a chance to do that and showing that. A couple of guys had some big weeks. If you want to give any of them some shout outs.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up Chris Rimmer. I thought Brandon McCrane stepped in there fine and did a fantastic job in his place. The guy who redshirted last year has a brother on the team. They're local. Brandon did phenomenal this weekend. I think that speaks to one of those points that Butch Thompson talked about a few weeks ago, is they feel like they're a little bit out of where they accustomed of where they're used to being, because there's more talent than they know what to do with right now, which is a fantastic problem to have and comes in handy when a guy goes down. So great job for Brandon McCrane this weekend. Chase Freilich had a great day. He's one you expect for Auburn this year. Ethan Bingaman had a fantastic day today, I think, with 2 bombs. Bristol Carter had a couple bombs this weekend.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the pitching. So someone different each time. And really, not that they're having bad starts to the year, but we're not talking about Bub Terrell, and we're not talking about Eric Guevara or Todd Clay right now, or guys that coming into the year maybe had more attention on them. It's the surrounding cast, which I think you have to feel good about, and that it might be even a better scenario right now for Auburn. So a great weekend. Really looking forward to where this team continues to go, and they've got a nice midweek game coming up this week, and they've got another Power 5, another Big 10, Big 12-ish. They've all been jumbled around a million times. Series next week. So, Kyle, I don't think we talked about this. This is a small tidbit I'm throwing in there because of the midweek, and I think my family and I will be going this week. Every midweek game, $2.50 hot dog night. At Plainsman Park. So I might have something to report to you back on next week.
Yeah, listen, folks, if you're not going to the midweek games, if you have the opportunity,
what
you are missing out, because not only are there still some really strong opponents in some of these regional teams. Hey, I'll just throw it out for this week and go see Loretta the Camel. Like, why wouldn't you go see Loretta the Camel? Hump day. So
my kids have no idea, but that's why we're going.
Did I just ruin the surprise?
Well, my kids they're not listening to us now or
they
ever.
Don't. But yes, please go see those midweek games. They are a lot of fun, and you'll get to see hopefully a lot of different players, because you'll often see some, Alvarez he got the nod last week in the midweek game, but others as well for pitching and things like that. So go take those in if you can. And there's other opportunities that you can take advantage of as well too, for some deals, especially in more than just tickets. Okay. That's your week of softball and baseball. Let's talk about some round ball.
Hoops.
Shooty Hoops is back. We are so back. Now, we weren't so back earlier in the week, and there was a little bit more drama. But, hey, good week for both the men and the women, although the women's schedule is a little bit wonky right now. They're actually playing tomorrow night. I know. It frustrates me so for them. I can't imagine how it must frustrate head coach.
How do you get in a groove?
Let's start there. Let's talk about them real quick. It's been a rough go. They got 2 early-ish wins in SEC play. Good non-conference, early-ish wins with beating Florida, an upset win of your rival in Alabama as your first year as the head coach. That's a big little check mark there. But then every week it's Vanderbilt, it's LSU, it's South Carolina. Just the mostly perennial powers of not only SEC basketball for women, but college women's basketball. And it's been rough. Not really a win to talk about, but that ends this week with they head up to Missouri. If you looked at some of the stats that the SID shared too, they've had a lot of success across regimes at Missouri. So I had a pretty good feeling going in this one that they were going to have a bounce back, and they do get the win. So you got to think that just feels so much better, not just for the players, but for head coach Larry Vickers, who knows this has been a grind.
Oh, I'm sure. And, it feels good to go up there and finally put a win and stop a losing streak. And hey, like you said, the different regimes, Missouri had a new coach this year. Auburn has a new coach this year. Auburn might or might not have been interested in some other coaches that are maybe as coaches of other Tiger teams. So it feels good. They maybe feel a little validated on going ahead and get the win in Como. But just you hope that it's a good bounce back and maybe the start to something up. I hate they can't build on that momentum and play earlier today and see if they can get another one. But I think they get, man, I just looked it up. I think Ole Miss comes to town
I believe that's
Tuesday night. And they've already played them once. That was in Birmingham, so they'll get the chance to play them here. And they're certainly
Strong
a feisty team as well. Yep.
Yeah.
But hopefully, and it does not. It doesn't matter what sport we're talking about in this league. We say it all the time. It does not get easy any given night. So hopefully they get a chance to build on that momentum and maybe go on a little run here.
A little bit of a run here. Speaking of going on a run, you know who else is about to go on a run? The Auburn men's basketball team. Now,
I hope so.
Listen, let's dive into the full context of this week and talk about it. Certainly very frustrating beginning to Auburn basketball week for the men with a loss at home. Was it at home or a lot? I'm blanking.
Away. It was away.
It was away. What am I doing here?
It was in a town you're very familiar with.
It's a town I'm very familiar with. Yes. And I even thought about that when I was watching it happen. So look, Mississippi State in its history has not been a horrible team, but this year they're not having, right. They're not having the greatest year. You had the storyline with Keyshawn Murphy returning. I'll be honest, I was very shocked with the nastiness that
that was surprising.
That was very surprising. Listen, you boo like when they go to the free throw line and stuff like that. That stuff happens. That's all good. But like when he went down with the injury, they kept on booing him. Like as he's there, they're trying to figure out if he's injured or not. I was like, come on, guys. Like, I mean, I get it, but geez.
Yeah, and a 4-year guy. I don't know. I certainly had his impact and is a veteran in this league, but I don't know. I was kind of surprised too with maybe the infatuation with going after Keyshawn, but look, we all know, and it's a little bit different story, but we all know what it was like when Aiden Holloway comes in here and when Alan Flanagan came back with Ole Miss. So I understand it, but it did feel a little bit weird.
It did.
But they certainly let the booing not be the only talking, and they put it on to us early there.
Well, one player put it on to us there. That's the crazy thing.
Had a generational night.
Can we just all acknowledge that? Look, dude, outstanding basketball player. Not taking anything away from him, but you do not do that, even as good as he is, hardly ever. And it's just such an Auburn luck thing that the one time when we're in the middle of one of the worst stretches of the last few years, it happens. Like, it's just the most frustrating thing. That's his 4th year, right? Like he's done after.
Yeah,
4 years. Never mind. Like,
no, I mean, that's just a number. I don't remember what Josh Hubbard's age is. I know that he went to the draft a little bit last year to see how he does, and then ended up coming back. And like you said, does it really matter anyway?
It doesn't. But
you just go find a lawyer. But I think that, or a judge.
I was about to say a judge, really.
But I think that
we got one in Tuscaloosa that might be favorable to you. I don't know. You're pretty close to Tuscaloosa. Go ahead.
You're pretty close. But a night like that, like you said, just doesn't happen very often, even for a really talented player. But it goes against Auburn's night. I get the notion that, of course that's going to happen when Auburn's already down on their luck. I think there is a thought to be said that Auburn's struggled with some guards lately, especially some guys that you probably the scouting reports built around, which is not fun to see. Of course, then, and even Stephen Pearl said it post game after he saw the box score of Josh Hubbard's next game, not so great. Which to that notion, I can see if you want to throw a job out there, but
that's not even Jabba. That's just like
right. But
of course,
I understand that mentality of that's just Auburn luck.
That has nothing to do with Auburn being Auburn. That's just the luck of it. Like we're in this very frustrating stretch that could ruin the postseason tournament hopes, and that happens. Anyway,
I do think, though, outside of Josh Hubbard's incredible night, for Auburn to get back in that thing, of course they lost. Well, it's not a good loss either. But for Auburn to get back in that thing and have just innumerable chances to go take the lead and go win the thing. But we're unable to do it. What spoke to what that team could be. Stephen Pearl called it, in case you missed the broadcast last night, he said it about 1,000 times. Stephen Pearl called it his most disappointing loss he's been at when he's been at Auburn. That speaks high volume, but it also obviously did some good in rallying the troops for the next one.
The win probably that people will point back to, depending on how the rest of the season goes, that maybe have been the pivot point of everything this year. It was already going to be a big game, Auburn versus Kentucky, the Outlive Cancer game, with that initiative and how important that is. And then it's just Auburn and Kentucky lately has just been great matchups as well. And it's Kentucky is a blue blood and, a traditional blue blood. There are new blue bloods. Maybe people don't feel that way this year, but look, all the stories were there, all the narratives were there, and it lived up to the hype and then some, and almost had us all panicking as well. Auburn does win 75-74 with the tip of the fingertips, the very tips of the fingertips. Elijah Freeman saves the day and gets Auburn the win with like 1.1 second left or whatever it was.
Ended up being 1-2, but yeah.
Yeah, gave them, I guess they got to give people time back or whatever to make this a little bit more interesting. I don't know. But Auburn gets the win in Neville Arena. And Austin, is it too drastic to say saves the season?
As of right now, it keeps the season on track. I think that it was a must win for Auburn in terms of staying in the bubble picture, staying in the tournament picture. Their strength of schedule has been doing a lot of work for them. So to get a win like that, certainly not over a Kentucky team of what they've been in the past, but to get a win like that, stop a sliding streak, goes a long way. So you hope that they can build on it. They have a go to Norman, I think, this upcoming week against a not good Oklahoma team, but who has beaten people on off nights. And so it'll be a chance. It's a chance for Auburn to take this confidence and momentum and want to feel some more celebration. I'm not comparing it, but I think there's a chance that this is a moment like we remember several years ago where Auburn needed a win real bad. Got one in Athens on a late shot by Chuma Okeke, and then didn't lose for a long time. So you can hope that kind of mentality or that kind of feeling is sparked from this win.
But you're not comparing. You're just throwing it out there. Just
comparing. Saying nice.
Listen, whatever you want to categorize this as, this is a very important win, just from the sake of the psyche of this team needing to get a close quad one victory, especially at your place where you're traditionally very difficult to defeat, even against the likes of teams like Kentucky. So huge one there. Got to feel better for the coach, for the players, all that kind of stuff. Certainly makes it even more relevant with the Outlive game that made that extra special. Love seeing all those t-shirts out there. But I got to give props to my man Keyshawn Murphy. What a game from him. And he just looked smooth. He looked, crazily athletic for the traditional big man, of the way he was just flowing through the paint and stuff like that, with floaters too, and just dunks at galore. You juxtapose that with what we just talked about, just an okay game going back to Mississippi State, all the negativity that he had thrown his way there, and responds like that at home. And one of your senior leaders, like, that's what you got to have, especially on a night where the other Keyshawn is having kind of a quiet game again, and they, took care of him. So listen, I love me some Keyshawn Murphy, and I enjoyed the heck out of that performance.
Well, and it's been a talking point that he's fully healthy finally, and you can see how that affects Auburn and how it affects what they can do on the inside. A lot of layups missed for this Auburn team. But when free throws was the issue, it was addressed and harped on, and it was fixed. You hope that that's coming soon, and layups are next, and this Auburn offense can start to get on a roll consistently.
Absolutely. And you did it against the quality opponent at home. You're feeling you got to feel strong after that one, at least just from the feeling like, okay, we got that monkey off our back. We're not just in some spiral, because the Josh Hubbard thing at Mississippi State just felt like a spiral. Like we're just at this point, we can't stop this thing. And let's be honest, with 14 seconds left, you're down 4. And I want to give credit also here, whether you like the play call, and of course, if you're on Kentucky's side, you're not, but that's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking, where are they going to try to draw the foul on the inbounds? And they sold it to perfection. Kevin Overton puts himself in a position to be at least appeared to be pushed down, called the turnover, caused the turnover there to give Auburn another opportunity. And they made the most of it, because that's the things that you have to do in those crunch times. even when things aren't going well for you. And Auburn did that. So I'm extremely proud of this team after all the flack that they've given. People want to just throw all kinds of criticisms at players of the team in general, and they're just not quitting. So I'm extremely proud of this team where we're sitting at right now. So let me just ask this to close. Big win over Kentucky. Auburn has an impressive resume. We've talked about it all year. Where you're sitting right now, is Auburn in the tournament?
Yeah, Auburn's in the tournament as of right now. Yeah, I think they're in the tournament. I think they're, I'm cheating because I've look, this time of year, if you're not following Joe Lunardi, what are you doing?
Of course.
I think they're close. I think that strength of schedule is holding a lot of water for them. But Auburn can continue to make sure they improve upon that the more they win, and they've got the chances to do so these next few games against opponents they need to win against. So I think Auburn's in right now. It's not going to be a seed we're used to over the last few years, certainly. But hey, you can't win it if you're not in it.
Exactly. And how many times we've seen even first four go pretty far in the
That's
tournament.
what it's about, baby.
You get in the tournament, people forget 2018, 2019 team wasn't thought much of, and then they just kept on winning until somebody didn't have a double dribble called on them and probably would have won the whole dang thing. I digress, though. That's not the point here. The point is this current team, we're ready to watch them the rest of the way. And maybe I'll get another prediction out of Austin next week based off how this week's goes. I know. This is that time of year.
Who's next Saturday? I know it's at Oklahoma this week. Is it Ole Miss at home?
Ole Miss at home, the return trip.
Yeah,
which they're going to be revenge minded after.
They always are. It has hardly worked out for them, but they always are.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult stretch for them. Hopefully that continues this next weekend. All right, that'll do it. Episode 163 of the Auburn Experience podcast. As always, we appreciate you all tuning in with us. Whether you watch live on the replay, we'd love to have you here live. So make sure you take advantage of the shenanigans that sometimes happen here. For that, sometimes I mean, listen, it's happened more than I thought, And
given where this episode started, to just be over an hour is pretty great. I'm just saying. We were sitting about 30 minutes of potpourri.
Well, to be fair, it really wasn't potpourri. It just was us trying to dream a little bit about things.
It spiraled quick.
And I blame you, sir. It's always your
fault.
Fine. That's fine. All right. If you want to keep up with me, the best way to do that is through the E2C Network main accounts. Direct messages should be open everywhere. Email e2cnetwork@gmail.com. Where can I find you?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott on just about anything. And I didn't put up the picture last week. Actually, I meant to. But I've got an addition to that picture that now will make it more relevant for our Auburn audience. So I will do that this week.
There you go. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. As we go, I want to remind you the Auburn Experience, the Auburn Creed. We ask you as well. The Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, to love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same thing. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks, that's the show. Episode 163 in the books. I'm going to keep you around for a little bit of Q&A. I'll address some of the things. Austin, you have either the floor or whatever you need here, sir, before you head out.
I don't think I have anything. I'll report back on, I think it's Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday because the camel's there. That's why it's hump day.
I need a photo of you and Loretta.
It will be me, Loretta, and the twins, most likely.
I need it.
I will do that. If I can get them close enough to it, I will do it. They've seen a camel. We've been to a living nativity that has had a camel. But I will be there. And I will send a picture with the camel, and I will tag the network.
But I do need one of the boys is cute, but I need one of you and him, or her, I guess I should say, just throwing up the deuces.
It is 2026.
Yes. Thank you for not letting that go by, but I was hoping you would. I need a picture of you and Loretta, and you just close up with her as close as you can. Throw up deuces with Loretta.
That's really close. Okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
Deuces with Loretta.
And I don't mean the other deuces.
No, I'm sure there'll be plenty of that, and my kids will point it out.
Daddy, what's that over there? Well, you see, son.
That bigger than your head?
Yes. What's that smell? Well, yeah, it's what it is.
You're not used to that smell by now?
That's what it smells like in Tuscaloosa. Hey, we brought it all the way back.
All the way back.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for hanging out with us
All
this
right,
evening.
War Eagle.
Where you go. All right, you're stuck with me for the rest of the evening, folks. And what a show that was. We got a couple reminders for you. As always, we want to send your way. Questions, comments, topics, drop them in here. We'll look back at some of the things that you guys were talking about. As a reminder, if you're a first timer here, we usually don't interact too much with the chat during this show. But if we ever need to, we will. I think we addressed a couple of things y'all said in there just because it worked in there naturally as we were going along. But just to give you a little bit of heads up, because I think a few of you we either haven't seen in a while or maybe for your first timers here tonight. All right, reminders for you. Get your questions and comments rolling here. A little bit of Q&A. Don't waste it. Your next scheduled content for us this week in terms of live streams, always tentative. Keep that in mind. Post-game shows. There's not very many of them left, folks. Auburn versus Oklahoma in Norman, heading out there. This will be the second time, I guess, that we've been out to Oklahoma since they joined as a basketball team. I think I got that right. Has it been 2 years? 3 years? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're out in Norman, Oklahoma, taking on the Fighting Sooners. Join us. We need a win. Need it really, 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 really bad. Auburn Family Night is back, and we're going to have a special little partner with that again. So make sure you join us for that so you can see some cool gear. But Auburn Family Night really shouldn't have too many interruptions with its normal schedule of Wednesdays at 9 Eastern time for the foreseeable future. Maybe a little bit with March Madness, but we run through this every year with basketball during the regular season where there's Wednesday night games and we have to just defer to those. That's done for this year, at least the ones that are planned right now. So Auburn Family Night is back. Live call-in show. Don't take for granted your opportunity to call in there. One more post-game show for Ole Miss. They return to Neville for hopefully not a little bit of revenge for them after the loss that they took by Auburn earlier in the year. But there you go. There's your post-game reactions, your Auburn Family Night, all the content that you can plan to see this week at E2C Network. Let's see what else we got going on here. This is from WT earlier in the show. Auburn has been giving up some scoring to the opposing guards lately, and certainly you've seen Coach talk about that just a little bit. Been a little bit frustrated about that at time. Mr. Ramsey said, I love the win for Steven as well. Has to be a weight off his shoulders. Definitely, it looks to, you could see a little bit of that, I think. So I also saw this from Mr. Ramsey, sick of seeing Tahad turn the ball over in transition. Now, if I remember correctly, he only had like 3 turnovers, which is wasn't even leading the team. I think sometimes we're being a little bit too critical, and even the coach talked about this a little bit of Tahad, and some of that is reflective off of him not meeting fan expectations about his scoring. And so we're looking for other things to nitpick a little bit too. I'm not saying that he hasn't done that enough, but I think too often we're so quick to criticize these players and not think about other things that they are doing well and talk more about them. We should be talking just about as much the things they do well as the constructive criticism that we do. And Tahad Pettiford has done a lot of things that people are not giving him credit for. Gave his body up in that game defensively, just given effort galore, even when he's not having great scoring nights, which he returned back to form, if you didn't notice, of not having a lot of scoring at a home game. I don't know what it is this year. It's just wild to see. So always remember that. This was from WT. He says, my hatred for FSU goes back to Deion Sanders intercepting the ball in front of Lawyer Tillman in the 89 Sugar Bowl. So he has not let that go. Anything else here? I think a lot of the questions were answered about the offense, how the offense performed. This was about baseball early in the game from Mr. Ramsey. So great point there, sir. And yeah, listen, we got a lot of you checking in this evening from different places. So it was good to see you guys and appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. Yeah, look, a couple other things here. We are continuing to work through what kind of baseball content we're going to do here. We did a little bit of an experiment last Monday night without an announcement. We're not sure if we're going to be doing that this week or not. I have been doing a little bit more of that stuff on TikTok because there has been at least some sustained interest in that over there. So I would recommend that you, if you haven't, or if you're on TikTok, maybe follow that for other things, but we're still playing around with that. We get asked from time to time, like, how do you guys cover baseball? Well, we do it in the show mainly. And so we'll put that segment out later. If you guys want to go rewatch that just on its own, talking about the week that was in Auburn baseball. But we're working through it, trying to figure it out. We've gone through different iterations throughout the years, and we're still working through it a little bit. So we appreciate those of your patients that are interested in that type of stuff. As always, before we go, we want to remind you, the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. I'd like to leave you tonight asking you to do the exact same thing. Thank you guys, and War Eagle.